Hi, I'm Derek Mountfield and you're watching Toffee TV.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first Toffee TV Live. This is the first time me and Baz have ever done this, and Baz looks like he's about to throw up. My name's Ped and Baz, this is Barry Katz. We have a YouTube show called Toffee TV. We talk about Everton every single week. We try and get the best guest on we can, but we end up with Ronny most weeks. If anyone's seen our special with David France, you know that this man is an absolute Everton legend, so it's an absolute pleasure to have him here today. He's obviously in the country, lives in America, he's come over, he's got his new autobiography out, Everton Crazy, where he's talking about following Everton for 60 seasons, 2 million miles. Not so sure about that one, no. He's an absolute Everton legend. He started the Everton Former Players Foundation, the Heritage Society, and also the Everton Collection, which he spent most of his own money on and then donated to Everton Football Club. And hopefully one day, when we get a new stadium, there'll be a nice shiny museum next to it with literally not only all the history of Everton Football Club, but most of their history as well, apart from their big stand, of course. It's an absolutely amazing collection. Hopefully one day we'll get to see it. Obviously we've got Ronny Goodlass with us as well, who is going to probably monopolise most of the conversation today, like he always does. Obviously former Everton player, Everton coach, Radio Merseyside pundit, says it like it is every single week, like nobody else, Ronny Goodlass. David, to start with you, because if I start with Ronny, that'll be the end of it, let's be honest. So I'll start with you. You've got some rules for today, I believe.
Right. The right rules today at the Winslow. No phones, no smoking, no profanity, and no talk of Nias. Or maybe it should be Valencia after recent developments.
Obviously you've come over to launch your book. This is your very last engagement. How has your trip been, and how have you felt the support from all the people who've come out to see it?
Well, I've been in great company, mainly because of Ronny, who seems to be stalking me across the...
Can't argue with that, David.
The book
I don't mean the stalking, I mean about...
You've great company, absolutely great company.
Thank you.
No, the book's gone well. What we've got left is about 20 copies over there, that's it. We may have a few over for the Ball of Fire play on Wednesday at the Epstein, but it's gone really, really well. It's the highs and lows of book selling. I'm not very good at this, but the highs were that in Crosby last Saturday morning we had like 70 Evertonians waiting in the rain the day after we'd had a very disappointing performance, and the bookshop owner wouldn't let them in because there was too many for his small bookshop. So eventually he let them in, and we sold 70 copies that morning in Crosby. A couple of days later we were at Lingham's in Heswell, and that was £5 to get in, and we sold 120 copies then, which is tremendous for a small place like that. And then yesterday I went to Waterstones in Wrexham, and I sold one copy to a guy from Wales who didn't speak English. I think he was from Bala, and so I tried to have a conversation with him, but it was a bit, a bit stunted, and I was looking for somebody.
Who wasn't with you?
I was looking for someone to to talk to get away from this guy, and I was near the shop, near the front of the shop, with my little stand and the books and my pen ready, and this 3 old ladies came in, and when they saw me, their faces lit up, smiles, and I did the same thing, a big smile on my face, and I got my pen out ready, and they approached me and they said, "Do you know what Costa Coffee is?" And that's a true story. So it's the highs and lows of selling books. We only printed 1,000 and they're gone. And I appreciate everyone who bought one, everyone who bought one to give as gifts for birthdays and Christmas. And I hope that when you read it, and I do hope you read it, that you see there's a part of us all in that book. My story is just the same as everyone's stories. We're all Evertonians, we all go through the same experiences. Maybe you don't travel as far as I do, but you lot have to go every week, so and I'll hand you over back to
David, obviously I've asked you this before, but that is not a Scouse accent, unless my hearing's going. So, why Everton?
Well, I was born in Widnes, which is known as the birthplace of chemical waste, and I had no choice. I mean, my father was an Evertonian. He is a fourth generation Evertonian, so I guess I'm a fifth generation Evertonian. My mother, he was obviously Evertonian by birth, and my mother was an Evertonian by choice. She was a Geordie, and I can assure you it wasn't her choice to be Evertonian. But I was raised in Widnes. There weren't many soccer fans, as we used to call them, in Widnes at that time. There were no Cop-Ites. I never came across a Cop-Ite during my childhood. But what happened during my childhood was the Munich disaster. And then every son of rugby league supported Manchester United. And I remember the day that my dad sat me down. We were poor, and my dad sat me down on we had a couple of chairs. He sat me down on a chair, and he looked me. He was a big man at that. And he looked me straight in the face and he said, "Don't even think of it. You're an Evertonian and you'll always be an Evertonian." And he was right, you know, and it's a wonderful journey through life being an Evertonian. I think we have more character, maybe because of the experiences that we have, but I think it's the bonds that we have, the fellowship, the friendships. You get two Evertonians together, as we know, Ronnie, and you can talk for hours about the stuff.
Ronnie can. I think also to say is that Ped's ginger, but us three are grey, so that's what it does support Everton.
Used to, I'm getting worried about used to. Used to far too similar looking for my liking.
Trying to morph into it.
Won't say anymore, your dad's here.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've been over, we were at the cathedral last week. It was a fantastic mix of, well, let's say there was, Robert Elliston was there, there was also, are we allowed to say hooligans?
You can do.
There was a hooligan in the room with a book. So there's a great mix of Evertonians. I mean, you talk Branningan Blues together, that was a perfect example that night last week.
No, it was fantastic. We had, I guess, 60, 80 Evertonians there, the whole cross-section of people there. And we all, as I said before, we all have this bond, and everybody got to stand up and say, oh, there was about 15 Evertonians got together and say what Everton means to them. And Ronnie closed the show, so, because you saved the best for the last. But
I love this fella.
But Derek Mountfield, he was close to tears when he talked about what Everton meant to him, and we just feed off that emotion. Now, I was very lucky that I got the cathedral. You may not know, but coming from Widnes, I'm a citizen of honour of Liverpool, thanks to a few people, including Joe, who gave me, and you were there when I got that, so you can confirm the fact.
I was waiting on.
And we have, there are three, there's only three things go when you're a citizen of honour. You get three perks. One is you can park on the double yellow line anywhere in the city.
Yes.
I bet you didn't know that. Yes, I have done. And, the other one is you can herd your goats through the Mersey Tunnel in one way or the other, I'm not sure which way. And the third thing is that you can be buried at the cathedral. Well, it's either in Arizona, and it's unlikely that I'll have that privilege. So they asked me what they could do for me, and I said, I'd like to have a dinner here, just to say thank you to everyone, say goodbye to everyone, but I want to have it in front of the altar. So they put 8 tables in front of the altar, and we had an Everton night that we'll always remember.
Certainly did, it was fantastic. At least we know there's blues in here with that ringtone, that's good.
Everybody looked at the pocket all at once.
That's in the phone.
I know. I mean, that cathedral there, it was incredible just seeing the cross-section of people there, ex-players, poets, us, journalists, and us, yeah, somehow. What did that feel like for you to see that turnout of people?
Well, it's what I expected. We always put on a good do. It's about our 5th or 6th farewell party. And just in case anyone's interested, we're having another one in Las Vegas in January. And we've got Joe Maxmore, Landon, Tim Howard coming along. So we're just going to have an American... And Celine Dion. We're going to have an American Hall of Fame over in Las Vegas. You are invited, yeah, but we're not paid.
Any Liverpool-born players being invited? Come up through the academy? No?
Ronnie, you've been with them most of these book launches, and what's it been like sitting with David and going through the old stories with him, and obviously getting that across that how important David is to Everton?
Well, yeah, well, I think, you know, with David, I mean, you've got to say about being an Everton, we've known for a long, long time, and obviously the friendships grew as the years have gone on. I mean, you know, we're both the wrong side of 40 now. But it's fantastic, and you touched on about the Anglican Cathedral, and I just think it was fabulous. You know, what a place to hold it. You know, Sheeds was on our table, and you go right through it. Sheeds got up to say a few words, but I say David Pleno got up, and it's Everton, as we keep saying about the motto, you know, Nil Satis Nisi Optimum. I think it's real class Latin. It's what Everton Football Club's all about. But the best one ever for me was Bowley. Once Everton's touches, nothing's going to be the same, and that's the way it is. And I was saying on the night when I finished the occasion off with about 46 Peroni down my neck and 3 bottles of wine. But it was from the heart, and you know, as he said over Derek Manfield had a tear in his eye. It wasn't because it was Everton, it was because it was his round. But you know, you look at it, and you can keep telling stories down the years. You know, I was born Mill Road Hospital. Derek Temple was with us, you know, the other day at Waterstones. It was lovely, you know. Derek only won 1 cap, and he won it in Nuremberg when we beat Germany 1-0. And Derek was really unlucky not to get in the 1966 England squad. It was a really massive surprise. And I told him about when I played for England schoolboys, I said, we played in Nuremberg and we were the first foreign team to beat them. We beat them 1-0. And I said, well, the similarities are there, Derek. You know, we both in Mill Road Hospital, we both came through the academies, or in ours, you know, obviously an apprenticeship, and then we play for the club we love. And we still go to match now. And David, you know, is starting to get the recognition he should have got. And I was saying the other night, I've been on Toffee TV many times, that David should have been on Everton's board a long, long time ago. And I said to Bashir, we partly shot when Robert Elston was there, and I said, there's still time to get him on the board. He does live around his owner, but he's a patron of my charity now, and you know, he phones me up 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I've still got to put him right saying, David, the time difference, it's 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning here. You're all right, but Ronny, I've got to talk to you about Everton Football Club. And that's the way it gets you. It gets me on commentary, as I still say the other day, I still get a buzz coming to the match every single time. And, you know, Robert Elston, we were all sitting there, and I said, well, if you don't get it now as a player and manager, or as staff, you'll never get it in a million years. And that's the difference between us and other people. You know, even the turnout today, it was great at Lincoln's, I thought. Johnny Morrissey was getting mentioned, and lads were saying about Tommy Ring, maybe the older element, your granddad or your dad or whoever had said about, you know, they're players with the history of the club. And when you look through David's book, it's a cracker, it really is. Caricatures, funny stories, we've all got them, but we can all, you know, when you start reading it, I know where David's coming from. And the more he does sort of speaking like this, you can get across exactly what David Francis done for Everton Football Club. You know, it's a privilege knowing, you know, obviously with the Everton Foundation, you know, I told a story about Wesley, which I got a bit emotional about, but we helped him to sort of finish his life with a bit of dignity. David was going on about 100 knees or 100 hips that they've done for ex-players if you have hard times, and obviously the Everton collection, you know, with the RS over the other side of the park, you know, up to 1934, you saved them. So a lot of people are going to be grateful for it, but as Ped's just touched on, we need a museum at this place bad. But as I said to Robert Elston the other day, Bramley Moor, I said that's where we want to be. You know, Crocky's a nice place, but them three graces and our new stadium there will be absolutely fantastic. But it's been fantastic, it really has. You know, great to see Ped and Baz as always, but I just think, you know, always remember David France for the good things. He's a very generous man. Loves Everton, like we all do, but I think he has gone the extra mile, and it's lovely to see.
Thank you for your kind words. Ronny thinks that we're a double act, but he's got news that I've decided to go alone because I think he's going to dump me because of my witness accent. So I wish you well, sir.
Obviously, following from what Ronnie was saying there, this man is an Everton legend. I don't care what anyone says. I know he hasn't played for the club, he hasn't coached the club, but the things he's done for this club, I mean, obviously he started the Former Players Foundation, the Heritage Society, the Everton Collection. I mean, just talk us a little bit how he got involved in those three things.
There was, well, many years ago, I retired at 42 to do good things. And I always wanted to change my life by changing the life of someone else, a stranger. Now I thought of doing what Howard did with Peter Reid, changing a red into a blue, but I thought that may be a bit ambitious. So I decided to work with...
Go on, you can say it. You're in the good company.
Now, I used that word the other day, and they were horrified, and I didn't realise it had negative connotations. But so my wife and I adopted this drug user, and it didn't go well. I can assure you, as you know that you've had experience of. It didn't go well, and I knew it wasn't going to go well when the guy said to me, "When you talk about your football club in the way that you talk about Everton Football Club, it makes my heroin addiction sound sensible." So I offered my services to Everton. I guess it's public knowledge now. When Peter Johnson was there, and you know, I'd run an oil company and had certain successes in turning companies around the United States. And I offered, my attorney is Peter Johnson's attorney, my UK attorney, lawyer is Peter Johnson's lawyer. So we got to know Peter, and I suggested that I could come in and develop, this was at the start of the Premier League, and develop a plan for us to go forward. I didn't want to be involved in the running of the club, and that's the last thing I want to do. It was a cash business then, I didn't want to even touch what was going on, you know, with the pies, the programmes and the ticket sales. But I wanted to develop a plan for, you know, change where the Premier League's going, and having lived in the States, it was quite obvious that television was going to dominate the future, and players were going to get, you know, very sizable contracts and get a lot of power. So we proposed this to Peter Johnson, and I put together four people. One was a PR guy, an expert in PR, an Evertonian. One was an accountant, and one was my lawyer and myself. And our goal was to develop a plan for 10 years, the first 10 years of the Premier League. And Peter bought on it. He thought it was a great idea, and he said he'd review it with the board, and that's where the problem was. The board didn't embrace the idea for whatever reason. Maybe they were a bit... We were going to do it for nothing, I should say. We weren't going to charge anything, we weren't going to charge expenses. This was just through our love and wanting to put the club back to where it should be and where it once was. So that didn't go very well, and so I then came up with a list of things that I thought that maybe they would be interested in, and one was looking after our old players with the Former Players Foundation. One was the Everton Collection, looking after our history with treasures from our past. One was the Hall of Fame. You know, we haven't won anything for many years, but there's no reason why we can't celebrate who we are. And after all, that's what the Hall of Fame is all about. It's not just celebrating the excellence of the people who played for the club, but the fact that we're all Evertonians, and promoting our our history with the Heritage Society. And then there was also something that my wife did, which was the memorials down by the Dixie Dean statue. I think we need to honour people who have lost their lives during conflict and who were Evertonians, and that's something that she did. And there were easy things to do. Now, there was one thing that I haven't done, and I've talked to Joe Anderson about this on many occasions, and I'm a bit disappointed that he's not embraced the idea. But I told Joe that what this city needs is a register of cop-outs. Because we all should know where they live. Because, let's be honest, you don't want to buy a house next door, do you? So you may see that coming up in the near. I'm seeing Joe on Monday, so I'll remind him of that.
David, let me ask you about the Alex Young film that you're involved in. You want to just give us a little bit about that? Because he seems to probably not by the older generation, but I'm quite sure younger generation might have heard his name, but don't know too much about him. And he was a special player, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was my hero. My first hero was Derek Temple for about a month, and I've told Derek that. And then Bobby Collins came along, and Bobby Collins was, for the older crowd here, Bobby Collins was an outstanding footballer. We let him go too early, and you saw he won Player of the Year when he was at Leeds, and he made Leeds into a very competitive side. But once Alex Young comes into your life, you can't have another hero. Now, I know Ronny's done a wax lyrical about Alan Ball, but to me, Alex Young was a natural footballer with a God-given skill. Alan Ball was a wonderful, wonderful footballer, but he worked very, very hard on becoming a footballer and developing his touch. So when I had the honour of writing Alex's biography some years ago, which went very well, and then I decided that what we needed to do was move this forward. You know, what happens is, you know, people think that Duncan Ferguson and Tim Cahill, they're the great Evertonians, and great players as they are. But let's be honest, they're not Alex Young, they're not Alan Ball. You know, we talk about people who won everything in the game, particularly in ball situation, where they won the World Cup. Now, when Tim Cahill wins the World Cup, I'll be impressed. And so will he, you know that. But, so I decided, we've all seen The Golden Vision, a fantastic film by Ken Loach, and the guy who wrote the film, Neville Smith. I talked to Neville about making another documentary, a follow-up to The Golden Vision, and we, about 5 years ago, we set about doing it. And it didn't turn out quite like I thought it would. It wasn't good enough for Alex Young, and I think that's the important thing. We made a real good film about the young lads who were local here called Tobacula. We made a really good film, but it didn't sparkle in the way that Alex Young did. So I put it on hold, and then more recently I sold the idea to Everton Football Club that they would improve the film and make it available in the future. And that's what's happened. To benefit Everton in the community, Everton and the PR department and experts have got involved. They found footage of Alex Young in action, where he, you know, Joe Ryle always says the thing about Alex Young was that he made defenders fall over, and you certainly see that in the footage that we've somehow found. They're finishing off the filming Monday, Tuesday, and then we're going to have a premiere. Now you need to all get your diaries and calendars out here, because it's going to be around the 26th, 27th of November. And it will be the show, it will be a Q&A with people who played with Young, Joe Ryle and Tony Kay and Derek Temple and Billy Bingham and the likes. And then I'll tell you this to lure you to the place. It's likely to be over at in the Alex Young suite. Is that I convinced Alex, who is not well. He suffers from dementia, he can't walk very well, and he has great difficulty in speaking. but I've lured him and his family to come down and say goodbye to everyone for one last time. So if you want to see Alex, he can't sign autographs and he can't write anymore, but if you want to come and see Alex Young and pay tribute to one of the greatest footballers ever played for this club, I think there were two goodness and gods. I think there was Dixie Dean, who, I mean, this pub was his favourite pub. There was Dixie Dean, who should be remembered for the number of times he put the ball in the net, and there's Alex Young, who should be remembered for the number of times he took our breath away. And, so make a note in your calendar, everyone, and pay a tribute to the man. Thank you.
Yeah, just do the 10 minutes.
Yeah, give 10 minutes. Give Ronny.
Ronnie, I'm going to give you the opportunity to answer back now, because I know that Alan Ball is your absolute hero. So why Alan Ball?
Well, you know, going back to the best. I mean, I loved Alec Young myself. I really did. But similar, when once Bally came to Everton, it was over for me. Honestly, I can't tell you. I signed for Everton when I was 15, and you know, obviously I played for England schoolboys. You know, Bill Shankly and Bob Paisley came to our house to sign us, and you know, I'll tell you that story one time. But once, as I say, you go to Belfield and you're picking the kit up, you ended up doing his boots. I was the first person he gave a white pair of boots to. I used to break his boots in, because obviously they're like slippers now, but in our day, you know, you used to have to wear them for a week and hand them back. I was walking like John Wayne. I had blisters, but because it was Bally, I didn't mind. But he just epitomises everything for me, and I agree with David up to a certain extent. Alex Young was fantastic, but Bally for me raised the whole sort of club, players, anybody who played with him. I mean, we used to, when we played five-a-side in pre-season, you had 2 first teamers, you had 2 reserve players and 1 apprentice. And the 2 first teamers that I played with was Johnny Morrissey and Bally. And, you know, if you're on a night out and you want to fight, be with Johnny. And if you want to pull a bit, be with Bally. So, happy days. But I used to watch them, I used to think to myself, you want to be the best in training. And this is what I say to kids when I do coaching, and if you're a plasterer or a plumber, be the best plumber, be the best plasterer, but go out, don't be saying about your mate round the corner who's got a better job or earning more. You just do the best you can. And that was Bally, absolutely through and through. He was immaculate in training, because I used to do his kit and fucking boots after I did that. But I used to watch him in training, I used to think to myself, that's how you play. And you listen to Joe Royal, you listen to Howard, all of them used to say it's the best player and teammate we've ever played with. And that's what I'm saying about this place. You know, Leicester won the league last year, why can't we? With a bigger fan base, bigger club, they've never spent 300 million. But you need a manager, a board that are going to back you, and then turn around and say, let's get players in. And I won't name the players in the present squad who Bally literally would out against the dressing room door. And this is what I'm saying, and I love him, I really do. Even when he played bad, he wanted the ball, he'd moan, he'd say, why haven't we won today? And that's what you've got to do. You're not going to win every game, you're not going to play well every game, but you've got to give everything you can for that royal blue shirt. And he played for Arsenal, fantastic career. Southampton, fantastic. You go anywhere where he played, they all wax lyrical about him. But this place, he absolutely adored. And even now, Dave's over there, David Feely, his grandkids come here, we always see Mandy, Keely and Jimmy. Jimmy Ball actually phoned me today, I'll tell you why after. I'm doing something for them again, but anyway. But they love this place, and it's through the dad and the granddad that he used to say about Everton Football Club. But for me, as I say, he's the one that I'll hold up to anybody and say, we've got to get back to the way we used to be. Start winning things, start being proud of every time we go and watch the club, which I know we are, but we still think, you know, under Martinez, he was a favourite. You know, my nan could have done better than him the last 2 years. And it was you know, we haven't had a board for a long time. I'll go back to John Moore's. I don't think we've had the best board for a long time. But when you've heard about David's ideas, we should have embraced that years ago, the way Liverpool did. And then we could have been far more advanced than we are now. But hopefully we'll get back to that. We've got Bowley, as I say, and many others, but I'd say Bowley for me is the best thing I've ever seen, and as I say, next to Dixie Dean. But is it fantastic that you said Alex Young, Tommy Lawton you haven't even mentioned?
Who would be your best goalkeeper?
Well, best goalkeeper, Big Nev. Neville Southall, absolutely fantastic. And I mean, I could talk all night about anything, about Everton. But, yeah, my team, I'll tell you my team.
Can we do this in the second half?
Oh, I believe this for the second. I'll tell you my all-time 11 who I think had beat anybody. David's got his, and I'll name them, but just to finish off, as I said to you, we're all proud to be Evertonians, and you know, anytime we start talking, I had a cup of coffee with David the other day, a quick coffee. 4 hours later, we're still talking about Everton. It was only because his missus phoned twice, and then I had to get on the phone and said, all right, love, he's okay, he's with me. If the Grafton was open, we'd be going to Grafton, but we never. But that's Everton Football Club, and as I say, you know, we'd love the club to the day we die, but hopefully we can get some silverware before we die.
Right, just before we wrap the first half up, there is sandwiches and curry in the back room. I think David's just gone out and got this ball. For some reason he asked us, me and Baz, to sign it, which probably devalues it.
Well, it's signed by everybody here, Ronny and John Bailey, and the first person who puts £10 in Ronny's box over there can have it. So, come on, somebody move.
No pressure, like.
Well in, Bobby Paddy, I thought you were going to do a double bluff then, mate, go to the toilet. Well in, Bobby.
There you go, it's gone already, thanks for that.
Thanks, man. Cheers.
Thank you.
Right, we're wrapping up for the first half, so all the food's in the back room, cheers.